He grew up quiet, broke, and invisible, and she had everything. Friends, grades, a perfect future. And they weren't supposed to matter to each other until love forced them to choose between success and happiness. A quiet student from a struggling family forms an unexpected bond with a popular girl chasing academic perfection, and together they discover that success without love feels empty. Ethan Miller always chose the seat by the window, not because of the view, but because it kept him unnoticed. From there, he could watch the rest of the class without being part of it. His clothes were clean but worn, his backpack frayed at the edges, and his lunch usually came from whatever his mother could spare after bills. He lived with his mom and younger sister in a small apartment on the edge of town. His father had left years ago, leaving behind silence and responsibility. Ethan learned early that talking less made life easier. Across the room sat Olivia Grant. Perfect posture, flawless notes, and a reputation that followed her everywhere. She was popular, admired, and known for one thing above all else: excellence. Grades, clubs, competitions. Olivia chased them all like her future depended on it. To Ethan, she seemed like someone from a different world. Olivia's life looked perfect from the outside, but inside, it was measured in expectations. Her parents spoke of achievements, not emotions. Every dinner conversation ended with the same question: what's next? She wasn't allowed to fail. Failure meant weakness, and weakness meant disappointment. At school, everyone admired her discipline, but no one really knew her. Friends came easily, but conversations stayed shallow. Olivia smiled often, but rarely laughed. When her guidance counselor assigned her a group project with Ethan, she felt irritation rise. She had plans, schedules, and standards. Working with the quiet boy by the window felt like a waste of time. She had no idea that meeting him would change everything she believed about success. The project was simple on paper: research, presentation, teamwork. In reality, it was awkward silence and polite distance. Olivia talked, Ethan listened. But when he finally spoke, it surprised her. His ideas were thoughtful. His words are careful but sharp. He noticed things others missed. For the first time in a long while, Olivia felt challenged, not by competition, but by perspective. After school, they stayed back to work in the library. Hours passed unnoticed. Ethan explained concepts with patience. Olivia realized she was enjoying herself. That realization scared her more than she wanted to admit. Walking home together became routine. Olivia drove past neighborhoods she'd never noticed before. Ethan pointed out his apartment casually, as if it didn't matter. She felt something twist inside her chest. They talked about dreams. Olivia wanted top universities, scholarships, recognition. Ethan wanted stability, peace, and a life where his sister wouldn't struggle like he did. Their goals were different, but the pressure felt the same. That night, Olivia couldn't sleep. Success suddenly felt heavy. People started noticing them together. Whispers followed. Questions rose. Olivia didn't care. For the first time, she felt understood without having to prove herself. Ethan, on the other hand, felt fear creeping in. Getting close to someone like Olivia meant risking disappointment. But when she smiled at him across the classroom, he realized something dangerous. He didn't want to go back to being invisible. By the second week, people no longer whispered. They stared. Olivia Grant didn't walk with anyone from the back row. Yet there she was, laughing quietly beside Ethan Miller, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Her friends asked questions she brushed off. Teachers noticed the shift, too. Olivia's grades were still perfect, but something about her had softened. She raised her hand less often, listened more. Ethan felt the weight of attention everywhere. At lunch, he kept his eyes down. Popularity had never been part of his life, and now it felt loud and uncomfortable. Still, when Olivia sat across from him, none of that mattered. One afternoon, Olivia froze during a calculus quiz. Her mind went blank. The numbers blurred. For the first time in her academic life, she didn't finish. The panic followed her home. She cried alone in her room, terrified of what one imperfect score might mean. That night, she texted Ethan. He didn't offer solutions, just listened. "You don't have to be perfect to be enough," he said. No one had ever told her that before. Olivia insisted on visiting Ethan's place. He hesitated but agreed. The apartment was small, crowded, and warm in a way her house never felt. She met his mother, tired but kind, and his sister, bright-eyed and hopeful. Dinner was simple, laughter genuine. Driving home, Olivia felt strangely hollow. She had everything, yet something was missing. For the first time, she wondered if success had cost her more than she realized. They grew closer, and with closeness came confusion. Olivia felt herself caring less about rankings and more about moments. Ethan felt himself dreaming bigger and fearing the fall. When Olivia held his hand one afternoon, it felt right. When someone snapped a photo, it felt dangerous. Different worlds collided, and neither knew what the cost would be. Olivia skipped a club meeting for the first time to sit with Ethan at the park. The guilt followed her, but so did peace. She laughed freely, unguarded. Ethan watched her and realized love wasn't loud. It was safe. Neither of them said it yet, but both felt it. Olivia's parents noticed the change before she mentioned Ethan. It showed in her schedule. Fewer clubs, fewer late nights, fewer achievements stacked neatly for college applications. At dinner, her father asked pointed questions. "Who are you spending time with lately?" Olivia answered carefully. "A friend." Her mother's silence spoke louder than words. At school, Ethan felt pressure too. His mother worried he was distracted. His grades mattered. College was his only way out. Love was beginning to feel like a risk neither of them had prepared for. Olivia was invited to a college prep dinner hosted by her parents. Professors, alumni, and high-achieving students filled the room. Ethan didn't fit. He knew it the moment he walked in. Polite smiles followed him. Curious glances lingered. Someone asked where his parents worked. He answered honestly. The room shifted. Olivia saw it happen and felt anger rise. For the first time, success felt cruel. After the dinner, silence stretched between them. Ethan felt embarrassed. Olivia felt guilty. "You don't have to bring me into your world," Ethan finally said. "That's not fair," Olivia replied. "I want you there. But you don't see how it feels to stand next to perfection when you're just trying to survive." The words hurt them both. Love didn't disappear, but it cracked. Olivia faced a decision when a national academic competition conflicted with Ethan's scholarship interview day. Everyone expected her to compete. She didn't. For the first time, she chose a person over a trophy. The victory felt quiet, but real. Rumors spread quickly. Teachers whispered. Friends speculated. Her parents confronted her. "You're risking everything," her mother warned. That night, Olivia stared at her acceptance board and felt something unsettling. What if everything she worked for wasn't what she needed? And what if loving Ethan meant redefining success entirely? Olivia's absence from the competition didn't go unnoticed. Teachers asked questions. Counselors expressed concern. A note appeared on her academic record. Nothing official, but enough to make her uneasy. At home, the tension thickened. Her parents spoke less, but every silence felt like judgment. Ethan noticed the weight she carried now. Guilt settled in his chest. He never asked her to choose him, but the world made it seem like she already had. Ethan pulled back without meaning to. He answered texts slower. He suggested shorter study sessions. Distance felt safer than watching her lose pieces of her future. Olivia felt it immediately. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked. "No," Ethan replied. "I just don't want to be the reason you regret anything." Her heart sank. Loving him suddenly felt like a mistake she refused to admit. The argument happened in the parking lot after school. Voices stayed low, but emotions didn't. "You think loving you ruins me?" Olivia asked. "I think my life is already hard," Ethan said. "I can't make yours harder too." Tears burned her eyes. "I don't need saving. I need choice." They stood there, shaken, realizing love wasn't the problem. Fear was. They didn't talk for days. Olivia buried herself in work. Ethan focused on family responsibilities and late shifts. Both felt the emptiness immediately. Success felt hollow. Silence felt loud. They learned something painful. Life worked without each other, but it didn't feel right. Ethan showed up at Olivia's locker one morning. No speech, no excuses. "I don't want to lose you because I'm scared," he said. Olivia exhaled, relief washing over her. "Then don't." They didn't solve everything, but they chose to try again. Aware now that love required courage as much as ambition. College letters began arriving around campus like quiet storms. Some students screamed with joy. Others folded rejection into forced smiles. Olivia pretended not to care, but her heart raced every time her email refreshed. Years of work had led to this moment. Ethan waited too, but with less confidence. Scholarships mattered more than names. Without them, college was a dream that stayed a dream. They sat together one afternoon, envelopes unopened, both afraid of what answers might change. Ethan finally told Olivia the truth, how tight money really was, how one rejection could mean staying behind, working full-time, giving up college altogether. She listened quietly, her world shifting again. For the first time, she realized success had never been equal. Some people chased dreams, others chased survival. That night, Olivia stared at her acceptance board and felt shame mixed with gratitude. Olivia got into a top university. The news spread fast. Congratulations poured in. Ethan hugged her, proud and smiling, but fear lingered. His own inbox stayed silent. They celebrated anyway, but the joy felt uneven, like standing on opposite sides of a line neither wanted to acknowledge. Love didn't erase reality. Olivia began downplaying her success around Ethan. She spoke less about dorms and opportunities, more about doubts and fear. Ethan noticed and hated it. "I don't want you shrinking your dream for me," he said. She whispered back, "I don't want to grow without you." Neither knew how to make both true. The word distance finally entered their conversations. Different cities, different lives, different timelines. They promised to try. Promises felt fragile but hopeful. That night, Ethan looked at the ceiling of his small room and wondered if love could survive imbalance or if success would quietly pull them apart. Ethan opened his inbox before work, half hoping, half dreading. The subject line was polite. Too polite. "We regret to inform you." He stared at the screen longer than necessary. No anger came, just a quiet understanding. Life, once again, had chosen practicality over potential. At school, he told no one. Not his friends, not his family, and not Olivia. Ethan took on more hours at work. His mother noticed the exhaustion, but he brushed it off. Bills didn't care about dreams. Olivia sensed something was wrong. He smiled less, spoke carefully, avoided conversations about the future. When she asked directly, he said, "I'm fine." She knew better, but didn't push. Some truths need space before they're spoken. The truth came out during a late-night walk. Ethan's voice cracked as he told her everything. The rejection, the money, the fear of being left behind. Olivia stopped walking. "I would have stayed," she said softly. Ethan shook his head. "I won't be the reason you don't go." Love suddenly felt like sacrifice again. Olivia tried to help, researching programs, calling offices, offering to connect him with counselors. Ethan appreciated it, but felt smaller each time. "I don't need fixing," he said gently. "I need time." She realized then that love wasn't always about doing more. Sometimes it was about stepping back. Graduation loomed closer. Caps were ordered, photos planned, futures discussed. Olivia was stepping forward. Ethan felt stuck at the edge. They stood together one evening watching the sun dip behind the school building, both knowing this season was ending. Neither said goodbye, but both felt it coming. Graduation day arrived bright and loud. Families filled the bleachers, cameras flashing, names echoing through speakers. Olivia walked across the stage confident, composed, exactly as everyone expected. Ethan clapped hard when her name was called. Pride filled him, mixed with a quiet ache he couldn't explain. When his own name followed, the applause felt smaller. Still, he walked with his head up. This chapter of life was ending whether he was ready or not. Olivia's house buzzed with celebration that night. Relatives spoke about her future like it was already written. Ethan went home to a small dinner, his mother's cooking and his sister's excitement enough to make him smile. Later, Olivia texted him photos from the party. He replied with encouragement, but something felt distant now. Success had placed them in different rooms. Summer stretched ahead, unstructured and uncertain. Olivia prepared for college orientation. Ethan worked long days, saving what little he could. They met when they could. Ice cream, late walks, quiet conversations. But time moved differently now. Every goodbye lingered longer. Love was still there. So was the question neither wanted to ask. Move-in day approached quickly. Olivia packed boxes. Ethan helped carry them to her car, pretending it didn't matter. That night she cried in his arms. "I don't want this to be the end," she whispered. Ethan didn't answer. Sometimes silence was the kindest truth. They spent her final night together at the park where everything began. No promises, no plans, just memories. As Olivia drove away later, Ethan stayed behind, watching the empty road, realizing love didn't always mean walking the same path. College swallowed Olivia quickly. New schedules, unfamiliar faces, endless expectations. She stayed busy, but the quiet moments hit hardest. She reached for her phone often, texting Ethan about small things, classes, roommates, campus food. He replied when he could, always supportive, always steady. But the distance was no longer just miles. It was experience. Ethan's life settled into routine, work, family, responsibility. He watched former classmates leave town while he stayed. At night, he wrote, short thoughts, unfinished stories, pieces of a future he wasn't sure how to reach. He missed Olivia, but more than that, he missed the version of himself who believed everything was possible. College wasn't easier than high school. Olivia felt the pressure sharpen. Everyone was smart, everyone was driven. She called Ethan after failing her first exam. He listened quietly, grounding her like he always had. "Being here doesn't make you less," he said. "It just makes you human." She cried harder than she meant to. As weeks passed, conversations shortened, not from lack of care, but from exhaustion. Olivia was changing. Ethan was too. Growth didn't ask permission. They loved each other, but neither knew how to meet in the middle anymore. During a late-night call, Olivia finally asked, "Are we still doing this?" Ethan paused longer than usual. "I don't know how to be part of your world," he admitted. The honesty hurt, but it was real. For the first time, love felt uncertain. After that call, things shifted. Not suddenly, but gently, like a door closing without sound. Olivia focused harder on school. Ethan poured himself into work and family. They still talked, but less often. And when they did, they avoided the future. Both felt it. Love was no longer enough to bridge the gap. One night, Olivia tried to explain how overwhelmed she felt. Classes, pressure, expectations. Ethan listened, but for the first time, he didn't know what to say. He couldn't fix this. He couldn't relate. Silence replaced reassurance, and both felt the loss deeply. When they finally talked about ending things, there were no raised voices, no accusations. "I still love you," Olivia said. "So do I," Ethan replied. "But we're holding each other back without meaning to." Letting go felt heavier than holding on, but also honest. The days after were strange. Olivia felt emptier, but lighter too. Ethan felt lonely, but focused. They carried each other quietly into their separate futures. Love didn't disappear. It simply changed shape. Months later, Ethan received news about a local writing program. Part-time, affordable, possible. He smiled for the first time in a while. Olivia, far away, found herself enjoying moments without measuring them. Both were learning something important. Success meant nothing if it cost them who they were. Ethan enrolled in the local writing program with cautious hope. Classes were small, informal, and filled with people who wrote because they needed to, not because it looked impressive. For the first time in months, he felt seen for his ideas, not his circumstances. At home, his mother noticed the change. He laughed more, spoke about the future again. It wasn't the dream he once imagined, but it was real. Olivia began questioning her own definition of achievement. She still worked hard, but she stopped chasing perfection for approval. She volunteered at a tutoring center near campus, helping students who reminded her of Ethan. In giving back, she found peace she hadn't expected. They didn't talk often, but when they did, the conversations felt lighter. No pressure, no regret. Ethan shared his writing progress. Olivia shared her growing confidence. They had stopped being each other's destination and started being part of each other's foundation. Ethan published a short piece in a local magazine. It wasn't famous, but it was his. He framed the page and hung it in his room. Olivia celebrated privately when she heard the news. Pride replaced longing. Love had evolved into respect. As the year passed, both settled into new rhythms. Life wasn't perfect, but it felt balanced. They had learned something neither school nor success had taught them. Fulfillment doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it shows up quietly and stays. 2 years passed quietly. Life reshaped itself around new routines. Ethan balanced work, writing classes, and family responsibilities with growing confidence. Olivia adjusted to college life with less fear and more balance. She no longer measured her worth by grades alone. Time didn't erase what they shared, but it softened it. Ethan received an email from his writing program. His short story had been selected for a regional showcase. It wasn't national recognition, but it mattered. He reread the message several times, smiling slowly. For the first time, he felt proud without comparing himself to anyone else. Olivia saw Ethan's name on a program flyer shared online. The recognition stopped her mid-scroll. She remembered the boy by the window, the one who listened, the one who taught her that worth wasn't earned through perfection. She decided to attend. They met after the reading, older, calmer, comfortable in their skin. Conversation flowed easily. No tension, no longing, just warmth. They had grown into themselves, and it showed. "I used to think success meant leaving everything behind," Olivia admitted. "But I was wrong." Ethan nodded. "I thought staying meant failing." They smiled, understanding settling between them. They didn't talk about getting back together. That chapter had closed naturally. What remained was respect, gratitude, and shared history. Not all love stories are meant to restart. Olivia finished college with clarity instead of fear. Ethan continued writing, slowly building a future that fit his life. Both felt fulfilled, not because they had everything, but because they knew who they were. Ethan gave Olivia peace. Olivia gave Ethan belief. Neither gift was wasted. They hugged goodbye outside the venue, not as lovers, but as people who mattered deeply once. It was enough. They learned the truth together, even if not forever side by side. Success without love feels empty, and love without self-respect fades. Fulfillment lives where both meet.